With Robinhood, not only can you trade individual stocks and ETFs, you can also seamlessly buy and sell crypto at low costs. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/day to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/day for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Hey everyone, welcome to 1,000 Natural Shocks. I'm your host, Gabe S. Dunn, and this is a Bad with Money podcast. This week on the show, we have Maria Melchor, who is the creator of FirstGenLiving. I came across her from a reel on Instagram where she was talking about how to protect your assets and figure out what debts people will be on the hook for if you are randomly deported. It also talked about what happens to your savings account. And these are just some of the things that we are not considering when it comes to someone being ripped away from their life. I think we see children crying and being upset, but we don't realize that life still goes on. They still have to pay rent. They still would have to pay the mortgage on whatever house they're in. They are on the hook for credit card debt. It's something that, on top of all of this trauma, people who are at risk of being deported, anyone, even U.S. citizens, have to make a plan for. So I'm happy to have Maria on to discuss all of this. I think it's a really wide-ranging conversation. We don't just talk about this kind of thing, but we get into her experience as someone who came to this country from Mexico with her parents when she was 9. So give it a listen, and hopefully this will help you make a plan because, as she says, you know, she would rather have a plan, even though it's traumatizing to do and to have to live in this hypothetical that is happening, is real. So thank you so much, and enjoy.
Told a lot of lies about achievement. They called you when they got you to believe it. Thumb and finger held to their foreheads in an L shape. Trapped in a capitalist hellscape. Let's fight back and have some talks about class and the massive cost of the disastrous plots of fascists and Nazis, fat cats and fox. It's 1,000 Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast.
Hello and welcome to the rebooted Bad with Money called 1,000 Natural Shocks, which is about our current moment. That sucks. Maria, do you want to tell my audience who you are and what you do?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Maria and I go by FirstGenLiving on socials and I'm happy to be here.
So I found you through a reel about how to protect your assets if you are deported or detained. So can you talk a little bit about your background and why you started FirstGenLiving and when?
Yeah, so I actually come from a legal background. I spent most of my adult life, you could say, focusing on immigration law and immigrant rights. I myself am an immigrant from Mexico. My parents brought me here when I was 9. It's just always been a big priority of mine to give back, help my community. And come 2020, I, like everyone else, am online. I'm seeing people create their like hobby Instagrams, you know, like my baked goods Instagram, I cook dinner parties. And I really didn't have any of that. You know, I was like, okay, if I think about it, the only thing that really I spend a lot of time thinking about and doing is worrying about my money. So I started a little Instagram where I said, hey, friends, family, if you are okay with, if you consent to me talking about money all day, follow FirstGenLiving. and share it with other people who might as well. And I'm going to be doing it from the perspective of being a first-generation immigrant, first-generation college graduate, and what I call first-generation professional. So just the first in my family to be navigating the white-collar world, the corporate world, the nonprofit industrial complex world. Yeah, so I switched from the legal world to the finance world, and lately I've gotten a chance to, unfortunately, mix those because our finances as immigrants, people of color, are not only under attack in the traditional ways, but in new, creatively legal ways. And yeah, so that's where that video came from. That's what I'm all about.
So I hadn't even considered this. I mean, there's so many things that are happening when people are detained or deported that are just like left behind because it is so immediate and seemingly random. And so can you talk a bit about explaining what advice you were giving in that video?
It is definitely immediate and random, but as immigrants, it is like a fear we've had before this administration. And what a lot of people who are empowering the immigrant community, making sure we know our legal rights, what we're doing is trying to prepare for this immediate, random possibility. So what this video was trying to do is say, hey, hopefully nothing's going to happen to you. Hopefully you'll be okay. But should the worst happen, here's what you can do now so that not only you can focus on trying to get out of detention or trying to get back with your family, but also the people that you are leaving behind, because a lot of the people being targeted are families, right? Are parents, siblings. They have their lives built here. So here's what you can do to start protecting your finances now, if that happens, and also so that if you leave anyone behind, they know what to do. So what I shared in that video is, the most important part to know if you are scared about ICE or, being grabbed off the street, even if you are a citizen. I know I'm a citizen now, and even I'm still scared, right? It's really, you should know that your assets, so the money you have to your name, and unfortunately also the liabilities, debt, anything you owe, all of that will still belong to you no matter what happens to you. So if you are detained, whether it's temporary or long-term, you are still on the hook for the bad things, but you're also entitled to the good things. And if you are deported, then you are also still entitled to your assets and still on the hook for things. And this is important because there have been a lot of myths being spread about, this bank or this government's going to be taking your money from you. And in many ways, yeah, it's going to make it very hard for you to access your money, right? If you're detained, it's going to be harder. But no, you still have those rights to your money.
So how do you prepare?
You prepare by acknowledging that it's a possibility, that you're going to be separated from your money and your people. More practically speaking, you want to make a list of all your assets, all your liabilities. I know that I can't tell you off the top of my head every account I have and every, lender I'm paying back right now. So I know that other people who aren't obsessed with money probably don't either. So you want to make a list and just make sure you know what you want to prioritize. So maybe that savings account that you've been working your whole life to build, you want to make sure that you know where that is, how to access it. And with the bad things, right? If you have car payment or student loans,
a
mortgage, yeah, you want to make sure that you have all the info for that. And so once you have that, there are some options. You can either stay in control of that money if you're detained or deported, or you temporarily give access to your loved ones so that they can take care of that while you're not here. So the instinct might be, oh, like, of course, I want to retain full access. But realistically speaking, right, the government isn't treating the people that it is
Kidnapping, snatching.
Yeah, exactly. It is not treating them with dignity in any sense of the word. So you might not have communication with people outside of where you are for a while. And so what happens to your savings, right? You want to make sure that somebody's making sure they're still where they need to be. Your mortgage, right, that it's still getting paid, because likely other people live in that home and you don't want to risk foreclosure, risk homelessness, of course. Even with rent, right, if you have a lease, you want to make sure that you're adding someone else to the lease beforehand. So make a list and then decide, do I want to retain full access? And if it were me, no, I would talk to my husband, talk to my parents, my siblings, and say, hey, I'm going to give you temporary access for this, you temporary access for this. The big thing, though, is with debts, you want to make sure that if you don't want someone to be on the hook for your debts, should anything happen to you, they should not be on that account with you. So there's a lot of people in the immigrant community who, may not have the best credit for reasons outside of their control, and they end up co-signing with loved ones, right? So a mom and a daughter, cousins, friends. And if you think you might leave and, it's actually you who drives, pays, is by any other means like in charge of a car, but it's like your sister who's legally like on the hook for it, you want to make sure that you either communicate and make sure that, okay, this is what's going to happen to the car. It's going to be under your name. Now you're going to be responsible for payments if I'm gone. Or you want to make sure that you tell them to sell it, right? Listen, I know you can't afford those payments. I give you permission to sell it. So just make sure that whoever does have access to your account, it's for something you want them to do for you. And if you don't want them to be on the hook for anything that is, a liability, then either remove them or tell them how to do away with it.
Yeah, do away with it, pay it off, or just kind of figure out how to get relief on it, or just if their name isn't on it, then it can just sit there, I guess. It'll accrue interest. But it's kind of crazy to be like, well, if they're not able to come back to the US at all, then what happens to that debt, What
I mean by do away with it is have a plan. It could be a repayment plan. Hey, here's how much my monthly payments are. Can you do this? Or take from my savings and make the payments. It can also be sell off that liability. It can also be remove your, like, while I'm still here, if, you're on the hook with me for some loan, like, can I get you off that loan now so that if something happens to me, they can only come after me for it. And if I'm if I'm in detention, they're not going to have access to me, right? If I'm out of the country, it's very, very unlikely that any lender will spend resources to hunt you down abroad, I've heard people say like, if I'm deported, like, I don't care, like, I'm, that debt stays there. Yeah, I'm with you. Legally, it's still yours if you come back, but no, they're not going to come after you in your country, or at least that's very unlikely. But just make sure there's nobody else who they can come after instead of you.
Very recently, I used Indeed to get hired for a part-time job. The employer put their job listing up on Indeed. That's where I found it. I applied through Indeed and I got the job. Indeed made the hiring process so easy. I was able to search for all kinds of jobs based on my skills and being able to look at really easy to read descriptions from the jobs about what they were looking for in a candidate. If I needed to hire someone again, I would absolutely use Indeed. And I also have been telling everyone when they've been saying that they want to look for a job or they don't know where to find a job, I was like, you got to use Indeed. I've literally told like 4 people like, oh, I found this job on Indeed. That's where you should look if you're looking to find a job. And the job I was looking for, they needed someone really quickly because they were growing so fast. So they needed to hire the right person very fast, and it was so important. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. I sincerely love Indeed. I went on there. It was incredibly easy. I literally got hired in September for a job actually using Indeed. I know this is a podcast ad, but I mean it. I really did use Indeed. I really do recommend Indeed. It all happened so fast, and I didn't even have to really stress. I found what I wanted. I got the job. Plus, with Indeed sponsored jobs, there are no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. How fast is Indeed? In the minute I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. And if you're looking to hire, you need to use Indeed because you'll find people like me. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/badwithmoney. Just go to Indeed.com/badwithmoney right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/badwithmoney. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. You guys know that I do not own a cold plunge. I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. I don't subscribe to the idea of a guilty pleasure. Everything is just a lovely pleasure. No guilt about that. And no matter what our day looks like, we need nourishment that fuels us. Kachava's whole body meal shakes will keep your body and mind nourished all day. My first impression of Kachava was the absolutely gorgeous packaging. It is so cute and stunning. And then once you get down to the flavors, they are awesome. I need an extra boost all the time. And instead of absolutely mainlining coffee and giving myself vitamins and minerals, 26 of them, fiber, superfoods, nutrients, all of that I need. There are 85 plus superfoods, nutrients, and plant-based ingredients. My favorite flavor has got to be probably chai. It's either that or the coconut acai. You can personalize it too. I add frozen fruit like strawberries. I've added peanut butter. Sometimes I'll add my iced coffee to it. It allows me to feel energized and focused. It has all the good stuff your mind and body crave for whole body health. With every 2 scoops of Kachava, you get 85 plus superfoods, nutrients, and plant-based ingredients. No artificial flavors, colors, or sweeteners, non-GMO, no soy, no animal products, no gluten, and no preservatives. You do not have to be vegan to love it. I'm not vegan. Adding more plant-based protein to your diet is a fantastic way to nourish your body. Try Kachava risk-free with their Love It guarantee. Thousands of rave reviews agree you're gonna love it. Fuel your day with Kachava. Go to Kachava.com and use code BADMONEY for 15% off your next order. That's Kachava, Kachava.com, code BADMONEY for 15% off.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/day to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/day for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. 1 discount per household.
How does it feel to be, you had this focus, which you still have, about, financial education. Do you feel that there's a shift? I mean, something called you to start making this type of thing. Do you feel like there's been a shift since January in what you see as financial advice versus what you are like, hey, actually, this is not normal and we're going to have to go even harder at the first gen aspect of this? I feel lightly like I've been driven a little bit insane because I've had this show for 9 years. That's why we're rebranding, because it was like, hey, how to invest, which is like, whatever, still important. But also I feel kind of insane being like, here's how you budget when people are getting kidnapped off the street and sent to concentration camps.
Yeah. I took a break from social media for almost half a year because I was writing a book, and then I was also just so depressed with what was going on and what is going on. And I decided to turn toward my local community and just get offline, basically, because like you, right? I felt like teaching people how to budget, how to deal with credit was just not a priority when such other terrible things were happening. When I got involved with my local community, which is an immigrant community, I realized that one of the big concerns is money. It's, hey, if I am detained, if I am deported, what's going to happen to what I've built here? And what's going to happen to the people I leave behind? A lot of the people that I organize with here are parents, and they're worried about their children, their dependents. And so I said, if I'm going to come back on social media, I am going to stay true to my mission for FirstGenLiving, which is helping first-gen Americans. And right now, what that looks like is these worries about immigration, these worries about inflation. And no, it's not what maybe traditional financial experts are talking about, but that's not what's on my community's mind. And if it is, I can still do that from time to time. But what feels most urgent is figuring out what to do during these times. So it's changed for me, for sure. But I think it still falls within my mission. And I think that it's more about just being okay with not doing what every other personal finance person is doing. And instead being like, who am I serving? I'm serving the first gen community. What do we care about, right? Not like, what do I think people should be doing? Like, people should be investing. But instead, as a first gen, I'm still a first gen myself. Am I thinking about investing right now? No. So what am I thinking about?
Do you have specific ideas for what to do with dependents? Like if a parent, I see a lot of children that are left behind and the parent has been taken. And is there a way to prepare for that if someone's underage?
Yeah, I mean, I am not a lawyer. I'm not a family lawyer. But based on the information that we've been getting from lawyers, what families can do legally is leave a temporary power of attorney where they grant the temporary right for someone else to take care of their children. And if I were a parent, I would definitely be doing this, because the alternative is it's up to the American legal system, your local courts, to decide what happens to minor children. And when it comes to financially, right, your financial dependence, what I've been reminding people of is, hey, what do they need? If you were gone, where would they live? If they're a little bit older, could they help with rent? If they're older, because a lot of immigrants were like multi-generational, we do multi-generational living. So we're, adults, 20s, 30s, and we're still living with our parents. can your adult child pay for rent? So just making a plan for those expenses that you are responsible for right now that they might be responsible for. And just starting that conversation, honestly, because let's be honest, parents aren't going to willingly tell their kids, these are all my bills, and this is what's going to happen if we don't pay them, right? Like, they might say, like, oh, we're tight on money, or like, we can't buy that, we can't afford that, or
Right.
inflation's high, but they're not going to tell you exactly like all the bills they have.
It's so fucked up to have to sit your kid down and be like, even just the conversation is traumatizing. Hey, so mom and dad might get snatched off the street. So, if that happens, here's what to do. Like, I'm sure you were saying how this is a conversation that immigrants have been having since, before the Trump administration. Although now it's a little bit, I feel it's different. But I mean, just having that conversation, I feel like with a young child is like creating trauma. I don't even know how I would talk to a kid about that.
Immigrant kids are very scared, paranoid right now. And unfortunately, I believe that we should talk to them about all of what could happen, because they are getting some of these news, seeing some of these videos of other parents getting snatched up on their phones. And as a former immigrant child myself, it's going to get to the children, right? Like, one way or another, they're going to know that their families are potentially in danger. And what I would have wanted, and what I want now for these kids, is for their parents to say, hey, we have a plan and you don't have to worry about this alone. We can worry about it together, make a plan together. It's definitely going to have an impact on, their ability to think about the long term. That can totally impact your finances, because you just feel like it's not even worth it to think about like retirement, because like, what if I'm not even here? Or what if...
Yeah. It's so unfortunate also to hear you talk about, mortgages and creating like taxes and creating wealth in a place. And then to have this narrative that immigrants are criminals, aren't doing anything, whatever, which I take issue with anyway, because I'm like, okay, what's the definition of criminal? There's white collar people committing crimes all the time, deport them. Or, this kind of idea of, oh, you have to be working hard in order to earn your place in the United States, which I think is bullshit. This idea that these families and these people have built long-term situations in the US. I mean, it's insane to hear like, okay, here's what you do with your mortgage. Like, here's what you do with your children who have been here their whole lives. Do people fucking hear themselves?
Yeah, it feels surreal that we are letting this happen in 2026. I am thinking I am more ready in 2026 because there's been so much happening in 2025. I feel like the year is over, but no, 2025. Yeah, I mean, I think all of these changes, to put it lightly, that the Trump administration and Republicans are making, they've never really been about reducing crime or making sure that people are working hard, because the people we're seeing taken away are families who have worked very hard, who have established community here, are like embedded in their communities. And yeah, it's tragic. I was talking actually to someone yesterday who's still undocumented. He's 65, and he was telling me that he didn't try to adjust his status, get citizenship, or prepare for retirement, because he didn't think he would be here at this age. But he had a kid here, and his kid had a kid, his parents and his spouse's parents have passed away. The family he has is now here. And I mean, did you know what you were doing at 18 years old, right? Like, did you know what you were doing at, I don't know, 28 years old when you were going to be 65? No. And so a lot of immigrants, this wasn't the plan. It was not the plan to stay here. But of course, when you work really hard and you start a family, that's your focus, right? It's not thinking about, oh, should I go back to my country, or it's going to happen like way down the line. And now we're finding ourselves here where, yeah, we're a part of this country, and it just seems like an impossible choice to make. Stay here and continue enduring all of this, or go back and basically start over again, because at this point, yeah, our lives are here.
There was a part 2 video, and what was the advice in there?
The advice in that second video was more around what you can do, like the very first thing you can do to protect your money. And it was what I shared earlier, which is, list all of your accounts and make a plan. I wanted people to understand that they have rights to their money, and then also, what are those first steps? And that is the first step. It seems so obvious and so easy, but it's not something people just know to do or want to be doing on any given day, on any given like Sunday or Monday that they have off work. So if you do it, believe me, you'll be ahead of the game, and your loved ones will thank you for it, not just if anything happens, but so that they can have a little bit of peace of mind. I think it feels the worst when you are seeing all of these news about your community and you're not doing anything. And I promise you that if you do even one thing, you can take back some control, right? Because one of the big things right now is like feeling like my life is out of my control. It's up to freaking Trump. It's up to ICE, right? What happens to me? If you can take back even a little bit of control with your finances, it's going to make you feel a lot better. And it's going to have that domino effect of like, okay, what else can I take control over?
It sounds like estate planning, which is so dark.
Yeah.
So when you talk about going and working with the local community, what are you doing there?
For me, what that looks like is I am involved with my local church. My local church is very political and had a history of working with their primarily immigrant membership on issues that are affecting us. So right now, what that is what we're calling, our rights as immigrants. And yeah, but there's a lot of ways. I've been involved with like local organizing groups that are not affiliated with a religion, nonprofits. I'm sure that if you Google immigrant rights and then your town or city, you'll find something. For me, what I felt called to do this because I know these people. They're people I grew up with. It feels best to be in community with my community and during these times, because the alternative is just focusing on what's on the news, what's on my phone.
Can you talk a bit about your journey and like your coming here and your parents' ideas and then sort of your path to citizenship?
My immigrant story started with my dad, who moved here when he was very young because he became the breadwinner of his family very young when his dad, my grandfather, passed away. Met my mom. Eventually, my mom decided to join him here with me for good. And so when I was in 4th grade, I started 4th grade here. They brought me to Connecticut. It's where I spent majority of my time in the U.S., Connecticut. And my dad has always been not just a really great man, really great dad and hard worker, but he's also been pretty fearless when it comes to, his place in society. So he came here as an undocumented immigrant. He has always demanded as many rights as he can for himself. And so
I love that.
Actually, my mom too, she allegedly, while she was pregnant with me, I organized a strike in Mexico. I was born in Mexico. And so I think I kind of get some of my interests from them, And so going back to my dad, he was able to get citizenship through an amnesty that was passed by Reagan. Believe it or not, I guess one good thing did come out of that administration, and it was this amnesty that gave a lot of Gen X, is that what my dad is? A lot of Gen X immigrants a pathway to citizenship. So my dad, even though, at the time, people were, immigrants were definitely not very trusting, right, of the government. But my dad was like, hey, this sounds legit. Let's figure out how to get an immigration lawyer. Let's get on on a payment plan and just see if this is real or not. He got citizenship through him because I was a minor. I was able to get citizenship, and then my mom. But it took a while. Even then, right before the immigrant services entity of the government got slower, even then it took a while. So that's how I'm here now.
How long did it take?
I got here in 2009, I believe, and I got my citizenship in 2014. So about 5 years. And my mom, it took a little bit longer. So yeah, that was like a fully, for somebody who like had the full green light, right? Not anyone who's like, I was already presumed a citizen when I came here because it took long and because we weren't sure. In the immigrant law world, there is a lot of fraud as well. And so there's a lot of like mistrust and just like uncertainty. So even though my dad was a citizen and told us that, me and my mom would also become citizens, we just weren't sure that was really true. And they, when I was at that age, didn't tell me that there was certainty. So they just told me, you're undocumented. Hopefully you're going to get your citizenship soon. I, as a kid, a very anxious kid, freaked out and was like, wait a minute, I've been doing so good in school. For what? Like, am I even going to go to college? Like,
Yeah, that's the planning ahead part of it. Also, that's so tender that you were like, but I'm really good in school. That's so tender and so sad.
I know.
Oh my God. So you guys were in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
So this is interesting. So it's not funny, haha, but like looking back on the way in which the right wing treated immigrants, it hasn't always been like this. This was not always the vibe from them. The fact that Reagan created like an amnesty situation, it's become so much more of a boogeyman. And you can see that it's a political ploy. It's by choice. Like, it's not based on anything because it's so random. I just watched this movie from 2007 called Charlie Wilson's War. It wasn't like a popular movie, but in it, it's a true story. And it's talking about this congressman and the CIA and how they wanted to get rid of the communists in the Soviet Union. And Afghanistan was at war with them / getting genocided by them. And so they decided to arm Afghanistan to help them get rid of the Soviets. But all they did was give Afghanistan a bunch of weapons and then have them fight this war for them. And then at the end of the movie, the US just leaves. And then the congressman, who's been so idealistic this whole time, is like, okay, great. So we did all of that. And so now to thank them, when are we going to go back and rebuild their schools and stuff? And the other Congress people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? And it just is like, and it's so interesting because you have all of these like right-wing, weapons-loving congressmen. At one point, they go to Afghanistan and they get really excited about how the Afghan people love the US for giving them weapons. And it's these like senators go like chanting Allahu Akbar. It just like made me be like, this is made up. Like the Islamophobia did not exist. You guys were happy to court them and use them. And I just couldn't think of any situation in which a sitting congressperson could say Allahu Akbar without causing just like a meltdown. I mean, granted, we've never been good to immigrants. We did Japanese internment. We did, at all. But it just feels like, how do people not realize this is another just ploy? It's just another, like, they could have chosen kind of anything, but they chose this specific, very vulnerable population. Very easy to get right-wing people on board with this whole idea of crime. I don't know how to be like, this is made up, and also to provide advice in a situation that is so not normal. Because I think learning history is important. But, that whole thing of like, those who don't learn history are doomed to repeat it. I'm like, even the people who do learn history repeat it. Do you feel like maybe there's some element of radicalizing people to realize that this is going on? Or I don't know.
I think this targeting of marginalized groups is a pattern. It's more so when we've had good moments. I feel like it's been a pause on the racism or a pause on the xenophobia because there is an advantage to it, because there is an economic gain to be had. Because the amnesty, right, was a product of Reagan realizing that immigrants do help the American economy compared to, American workers, cheaper labor. They can underpay us more. It is beneficial for this country to have us here. But when they are not trying to gain something from us, I think that's when the racism and xenophobia continues. I would say that right now it is being used, instead of it being suspended, it's being wielded to distract Americans. Everything that's being done to the rest of the population, right? Because what's happening to immigrants is horrible. But also this big, beautiful bill that Trump passed and all the Republicans passed is going to harm Americans. It's slashing Medicaid. And no, Medicaid's not only impacting like the super low income people, it's also impacting people who have to rely on health insurance that's not sponsored by an employer. So if your aunt or your mom even has health insurance, and she's paying a couple $100 per month, that might actually be getting subsidized by the government right now with a tax credit. And that will be gone in the next couple of years. So you really think people are going to be able to afford $700, $800 per month on health insurance? It's a monthly payment, right? Not even like bills or out-of-pocket costs. No, a lot of people are going to lose health insurance, not going to be able to afford it anymore. So I do think that we are absolutely used as a bargaining chip almost, like, and right now it's to unify. Let me say that again. It's more to distract Americans from all the other bad things that are being put into place. So yeah, I think I think right or left, like, politicians can use different groups to either distract or unify people. And
are you going to say unify white people? Just unify white people to just like not notice that they're getting their healthcare taken away.
Exactly. They might think it's what they have to do, or truly not care. But it is truly like devastating families and will have a long-term impact beyond their political careers. So it's just tragic.
In the opposite way of Reagan, you see these places, workplaces getting raided. And then there's been a couple, it's interesting. The floods in Care County, the Mexican groups came up, disaster relief came up to help with those floods. And then the right wing, it's a right wing area. The sheriff, I think, was like, I'm going to try to help them get, citizenship or not get detained, or, I'm going to protect these people who saved my granddaughter. And he's getting backlash from his base because he's like, I don't know how to, he's like, they saved my granddaughter's life. Which is also so fucked up that needed to happen for him to be like, wait a minute, which is how it feels about some of the other stuff of because it was never about immigrants not working, because you're picking them up at their workplaces. So the whole idea of, oh, well, so it's almost the opposite of Reagan, where it's like, oh, we're going to tank the economy because we want to get rid of these people who it's really sad to be like, we're able to pay them less. And also they do jobs that Americans don't want to do. And you hear that and you're like, sure, but maybe once this calms down, we could talk about how that's fucked up.
I found out recently that the way to convince people to see immigrants as humans, it's just saying that feels awful, but if you, I don't know, have neighbors, friends that you, I guess, want to invest your time and energy trying to help them see that this is bad. The way to convince them is by pointing to an immigrant in their life, someone they know. And that is just, crazy to think that you have to remind people that people are people and that they are not the one stereotype that Fox News keeps lying about over and over again. And it's so just disappointing that you can overlook all of the bad things happening to people because you think that they are something that they're not, or because whatever, even if you do believe all that, if somebody makes a mistake, you're really going to, as long as, as soon as they make a mistake, you're going to be like, okay, totally fine to get kidnapped, to get shipped abroad to a country you're not from, put into this.
They think it's criminals. They're like, U.S. citizens aren't getting deported, which I was like, are you out of your mind? It's like a funnel of news. But also, this is a thing that I say all the time. I had a real rough week. I witnessed police brutality and it was awful. And the cops were saying about the guy, oh, he's on parole. And I was just running on adrenaline. And I was like, is the punishment for being on parole punching him in the face? Is that the legal punishment? The idea of, oh, well, this person's a criminal. I'm like, okay, we have due process if they are a criminal. I got in a fight with someone in the comments of something because this guy was like, this woman is wanted in connection with a homicide. They should deport her. And then I was like, she didn't get a trial. And then he's like, oh, okay, so you believe the words of a murderer? And I was like, until she's convicted by a jury, yeah, that's the justice system. I was like, what? It was I was like, what are we talking about?
All of this vigilante type stuff happening and thinking that one thing is merits all of this violations of human rights and thinking that they're not next, right? I really worry that, we're going to just let all of these, violations of human rights keep extending to more and more people, it's disheartening to see that people on the right, even some people, more moderate people, aren't making those connections.
Yeah, there was a story out of some town, a right-wing town, where there's like a Asian woman immigrant, I think from Hong Kong, and she had been running like the diner in the town for like, I don't know, 35 years. And then she got picked up by ICE. And then all of a sudden, all the right-wing people in the town were like, not Carol. Like they were like, wait, what about Carol? And then all of a sudden the town has become like a free Carol. Like that's all they care about. And they're like, but her kids go to our school and we play soccer, like she comes to the soccer games. And it's like, yeah, Carol was an immigrant the whole time. Can you believe? Here's the thing, like to cap off, I was working with an organization called Rainbow Railroad for something called Welcome Corps, where they help refugees who come into the United States. Rainbow Railroad is specifically LGBTQ, but Welcome Corps was for anyone. And I was applying. I had put together my whole application. I sent it in, and then Welcome Corps was shut down like 5 days after Trump was in office. In talking to the organizers of such stuff, is it okay? This is like upsetting, but like, is it even safe to have these people come in? Like, is it even responsible anymore to have them come here? It's the people that are self-deporting. It's like worth it to them financially to just like pick up and leave. I don't know if that's the future of it. And then sort of getting their money to them in, El Salvador or Mexico through like what, like a Zelle?
It's sad. I don't think that it comes down to a financial decision. I think that is something people are worried about. But I think people who are self-deporting, it comes down to keeping your dignity, not getting deported by the Trump administration, potentially be detained, potentially be shackled.
Can you take your money with you? Like how do you just pull it out of the bank and then put it in a suitcase and take it over?
I'm sure there are people doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I would advise against doing that because you're a target if you carry around cash. I don't want you to be a target. And what I would do is make sure I leave it in a bank account that I know can transfer my money to a bank account in my home country. So there are banks that operate here and in Mexico here and Ecuador. Just prepare that ahead of time here, and then you can send yourself the money. You can send the money now.
Cynically, I'm like, wow, well, that'll be the cost of living. Like that money will go much further, unfortunately. I think the level of preparation is very, very necessary. So I really appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate your content steering in that direction. And also it sucks.
Definitely sucks. I know it helps me to have a plan or to know what's going on even. And there's so much misinformation out there. And so I'm happy to be a source of information and to find a community, online that also cares about this stuff. It's a safe place to care about this stuff on my pages. And I don't have answers to everything, but together we can come up with answers. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Where can people find you and get in touch with you?
So you can find me at FirstGenLiving, first gen, like first generation, and then living, as in I am living in Connecticut. It's one word, FirstGenLiving. I do want to go back to New York. So yeah, I'm on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. I'm also on TikTok. If you Google FirstGenLiving, my website will come up. Have some resources there as well. And you can always email me at maria@firstgenliving.com. If you have questions, I want to hear from you. It helps me know what I can help with. Yeah, reach out.
Thank you so much. 1,000 Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast, is a production of Noted Bisexual, produced by Melisa D. Monts and Diamond MPrint Productions, edited by Diane Kang, post-production sound by Coco Llorens, and music by Zach Sherwin as sung by Sam Barbera. Thank you, love you, bye.
Running a business can be exhausting. Building your website shouldn't be. With Wix, you can express your ideas, give direction, Then leave the heavy lifting to AI, from site creation to branded content and images. Have fun with the details. Customize what you want the way you want. And manage your whole business from a centralized dashboard with expert AI tools. Build, scale, and enjoy the incredible results. You can do it all yourself on Wix.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F-words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.